Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vicky Sanders from here, formerly OpenFin, and today I'm going to talk about the Cognitive Command Center and how AI can be used as an orchestration layer in financial services. Now, a cool thing about my job is I get to speak to a lot of buy-side, sell-side, vendors, different types of organizations all across financial services, and I'm going to try today to summarize some of those points. So I think we're all incredibly familiar with this picture. It's the chaotic, fragmented front office desktop. And it's not what AI is supposed to look like. The industry has spent 3 years, an enormous amount of capital deploying AI, yet the human at the desk is more overwhelmed than ever. And today I want to talk about why and what the industry's leading firms are doing about it. So we're seeing that investment being made, yet the transformation hasn't arrived. Employees are interrupted every 2 minutes. That's 275 times a day. Now, we know AI didn't cause this, but if it's being deployed carelessly, it will absolutely accelerate it. At every conference you go to this year, and absolutely at OSSF today, there are sessions on AI, sessions on models, agents, data leaks, security, governance. And all of those matter, and as an industry, we need to keep talking about them. But none of them answer the question I want to start with today. Where does it land for the front office employee? So looking at an example, I think with Microsoft Copilot, we can all agree that this has been a fantastic first step for many organizations. Forrester are predicting a 116% ROI over 3 years for Copilot at enterprise scale. And real-world case studies show meaningful productivity gains across document drafting, meeting summarization, communications. A firm told me last week they're saving 4,000 hours a year. Copilot succeeded because it met people where they are already, inside MS365 tools that they're using every day. And that was strategically brilliant. But it also defines Copilot's limitation. It's optimized for the Microsoft ecosystem. In our industry, an industry that runs on Bloomberg, FactSet, LSEG, pricing tools, proprietary risk systems, bespoke research platforms, the MS365 universe is only part of the picture. The AI native trading floor needs intelligence that flows across the entire application estate. That requires browser-level orchestration layer that is genuinely model and vendor agnostic. So where we're seeing investment in AI is in the models and the data. So there's just a few examples we can pull from the front office already, different things that we're seeing. So research augmentation, seeing NLP research synthesis, AI-enhanced research management systems, elevated analysts. In investment processes, we're seeing automation, portfolio construction, idea screening. And agentic workflows are appearing everywhere, on the trading desks and pricing and risk management, regulatory filings, in sales and Client 360. Now, all this work is impressive, but each one of these is happening in a silo. And the human who sits in the center looking at those screens needs to navigate manually between all these. And very often, they're doing that in a browser that was designed for a pre-AI world. So let's talk a little bit about browsers. They are the mega app on everyone's desktop, even for front office users. And in the second half of 2025, something really interesting happened. The browser became a strategic AI battlefield. AI browsing took a major leap forward when OpenAI launched ChatGPT Atlas. And if you're not familiar with that, it connects into ChatGPT directly into the browsing experience with an agent mode that lets the browser perform tasks on the web. Perplexity launched Comet with similar functionality. Google deepened Gemini's integration into Chrome, and Microsoft got told off. We'll come back to this a little bit more. They got told off for enabling Copilot to read everything in your browser. The pattern across all of these examples is identical. The browser vendor and the AI model provider are the same company. The browser is becoming the distribution and data collection mechanism for the model. So you might be wondering, that sounds actually somewhat useful. What is the problem? Well, Gartner immediately made a recommendation that organizations block all AI browsers for the foreseeable future in Q4 of last year. Vulnerabilities were found. So Atlas was storing unencrypted OAuth tokens on Mac OS. With Perplexity, there was Comet hacking vulnerability where there was potential exfiltration of all of the user's data to attacker-controlled servers. The reason AI browsers are an area of concern is that they can send active web content, browsing history, open tab contents into the cloud for analysis, and enterprises lose control of that data. Now, many of you work at regulated firms, so whether that's FCA, SEC, MiFID II, you have fiduciary responsibilities, and especially over material non-public information. And when those cross into browser sessions daily, it's not a theoretical risk, it is a governance emergency hiding in plain sight. Now, there's no single model that wins everything. As a financial services firm, you wouldn't run a single strategy across all asset classes. You wouldn't run the same model for pricing for different asset classes either. And we see that across AI. Now, I don't think I have enough time in this session today to go over each one of these examples, but hopefully to the people in the room, they're incredibly familiar. It raises a new question. What determines which model handles which task, with which data, and with which controls? And how are we going to protect the end user? So that orchestration across different models and different tasks needs to happen somewhere, and it needs enterprise-grade governance wrapped around it. The browser is a natural home for that orchestration, but only if it's built for the purpose. Agentic AI in financial services isn't about removing humans. Every customer I speak to echoes this point. It's about deploying them better, focusing the human in the loop on exception handling, authorizations and approvals, oversight and monitoring, and human override. The browser is where that better instrumented human oversight lives. So what AI native financial services firms need is a cognitive command center. And that needs to have 4 critical elements. It needs enterprise data and security controls, human supervision of agentic workflows, intelligent orchestration, and unified access. And that's access to AI, apps, and also the underlying data. Now, this isn't science fiction. The technology to deliver this exists today. But what's been missing is a mindset change, that the browser should be a governed, intelligent platform experience and not just a passive portal to the web. So we work a lot with clients on AI projects and different initiatives, and generally very often come back to ROI. And what we see as a first pass is that what's being measured isn't actually what matters. So what if a research analyst can save 5 to 6 hours a day? What if a trader semi-automates RFP responses with a trusted multi-factor pricing agent? What if engineers are producing 30% more code and much more productive? Well, 59% of business leaders worry about quantifying the productivity gains of AI. And the default measure to do that is hours saved. But it's a really blunt measurement for firms and financial services especially, where human judgment is the core product. So what really matters is cognitive alpha, the return that can be generated on attention and empowerment. So when you free your best people from information retrieval and into genuine insight generation, you've created something that a competitor who hasn't done this just cannot replicate. And you've actually upskilled your entire team. We're at a really critical juncture in decision making. And there's 3 decisions that we see today are going to determine competitive positioning for the next decade. So what are those 3? So the first we see is model sovereignty or dependency. And firms that win won't necessarily have the most powerful, the fastest, or the best models today, but what they'll have is an architecture that can absorb the best models of 2027 and beyond. Coming back to ROI, that decision between headcount reduction and cognitive expansion. The ROI framework that the businesses choose shapes the culture that you'll build. A one-time saving, or are we looking at something that can compound a competitive advantage? And the third, a fragmented experience or unified intelligence. Your front office teams, your employees, are going to use whatever you put in front of them. So the question is whether what's in front of them was designed or assembled just by accident. And no surprise that this creates a competitive gap and that gap is widening as well as compounding. So AI approaches are delivering better outcomes for the frontier firms, and we're seeing that across top-line growth, on market share gains, brand differentiation, cost efficiency, and customer experience. And in trading, that translates to tighter spreads, quicker pricing, better client experience, and market intelligence. And we do see this across every industry, even where I work in software technology. The firms achieving this aren't the ones with the most sophisticated models. They're the ones who've solved the last mile. They are also the ones who've historically been platform builders, so where they've sought to have a platform experience for their teams. And AI is just one more part of that platform evolution, the coherent delivery of intelligence to humans who act on it and use the tooling most effectively and most appropriately for the job. So when your most experienced analyst, trader, or PM sits down tomorrow morning, the question is everything they need and every intelligence they should have access to one coherent experience? Or are they still opening tab 47 or toggling across the dozens of tools they need to do their work? That's the question we think the industry needs to be focused on and to answer next. Not which model, not which agent, but where does it all come together for the person who has to make the call? And if that question resonates with you, we'd very much welcome a conversation. I'm here with a few of my colleagues. So we have Johan Sanderson, John Mandia, we have Yusuf Mohammed as well in the room. So thank you very much for your time.